Desde Las Vegas, Nevada. Iniciamos con el programa Hablando de bienes y raíces con Castillo y sus invitados. Comenzamos.
Good morning, Las Vegas. My name is JC Castillo. We're getting started here with your program, Hablando de Bienes Raíces. We are in studio with ML Mortgage. Once again, here we are Tuesday, December the 17th. And today, we only have one guest, but it's going to be plenty enough for you guys to get all the information you guys need. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to introduce our guest. So I have here, sitting with us, Mr. Rudy Romano. Rudy, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, JC.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. So, Rudy, if you want to go ahead and give me your name, your last name, your contact info, the company you work with, and how long you've been in the industry, please.
Sure. Rudy Romano with Signature Real Estate Group. Phone number is 702-202-9489. My email address can't be any easier. It's my name, rudy@rudyromano.com.
Awesome.
I've been in real estate and development in Las Vegas for the last 25 plus years with a resale license since about 2008, 2009. I've got a varied background in finance. I've worked for the FDIC for a period of time there when I first got my license. So like I said, my background's a little different than most. I'm a faculty instructor down at the LVR. So I try to keep myself busy with everything.
Yes. Do we know you stay busy because
absolutely
we've been trying to go ahead and get this schedule, and you always get called to do a last minute training or to be sitting part of some kind of board. And I'm really privileged, to be honest with you, to be sitting here with you because your knowledge is key, right? And like you said, you stay yourself busy. And the reason why you and I are talking is because a couple of months ago we did a podcast that we were talking about what's happening with the Badlands Golf Course, where we have this whole lawsuit going in where they're kind of turning it into the golf course is no longer available for the owners, and you can't play golf there anymore. And they're turning it, or they're trying to think what they're going to turn it into. We know that they talk about maybe putting some housing in there. I mean, something is happening. But then there's another golf course that just went through the same process that everybody was freaking out because that's more towards the east side of town, not so much on the west side of town. I know you don't have a lot of details on it, but can you talk to me and let me know what's happening with that so like that our public could really understand what's happening, please?
Sure. So there were two announcements about a month ago. One was the Royal Links. Both of these are on the east side. That they were going to do an infill project there for affordable housing.
Correct.
And if you're familiar with the area, I mean, it's a golf course. It literally looks like a square if you look at the aerial. It's all surrounded by homes and businesses. The property was deemed to be better suited for redevelopment than it was for being a golf course.
Correct.
So that was sold off. Third-party owners that they've been working on plans for the last couple of years on how to go and redevelop that property. The other one that's kind of made a little bit more of a splash is Desert Pines, which is the city-owned piece of property. That one, that's like Bonanza, if I remember correctly. That property, what they announced was the largest affordable housing project in the state to date. We'll be coming there, the first phase, $25 million of, I believe, a $450 million project.
Right.
Where it got people scratching their heads and thinking was, what exactly is this project? They say affordable housing, and it's not a very well-defined term. We'll talk about that. But what they're planning on doing there is doing a mixed-use concept. They're going to have some commercial in there, but they're also going to have condos, affordable townhomes and condos. And then they're going to do affordable single-family homes, I believe about 280 of those, and a bunch of businesses. They're going to do a lot of support for the community in there. So a lot of occupational training, healthcare, what have you, as well. And they're basically, the plan is to, in a nutshell, it's to provide services or outlets for underserviced or underutilized services in that area. So, like I said, medical, training services, what have you. So, it's supposed to be an area that's going to help people
Right.
Better themselves, better their professions, better their livelihoods. So, but it's going to be an interesting project. When it breaks ground, don't know. They've got a rendering of this. It looks great.
Right.
And, a lot of the people that are yelling and screaming or scratching their heads are, they're not necessarily in the surrounding area.
Right, which is the craziest thing because it is not your area. You're just looking and hearing things, and you're creating a fuss. But from what I know, and I've only been living here in Vegas since 2001, so I'm not a local. I am not born and raised here. That is one of the biggest massive project in the East Side in the last 20 years, from what I know of, because there's not a lot of big projects out there, are there?
No, because it's an older portion of town, so it's been developed, decades earlier.
Right.
And that's where you see that in older communities or older areas where you'll have a redevelopment push. You'll have some of the quote unquote old timers that don't want to see the change, and then you've got what is the current need, right? So there's always that opposition. It's a classic, right? You can, it's like a Hallmark movie around the holiday times. It's a standard, it's a standard theme, right? So, but yeah, you have, times change, needs change, demographics change, meaning, families without kids, now they have kids.
Correct.
Now they may not have kids again. Their needs will change during the life cycle. So, it depends when you develop these areas, you see a natural turn, as at a certain point based upon, what demographic was actually in there buying the first time or investing in that area the first time that they first came out. So, you see a natural progression over time. Just like your priorities change.
Yeah.
My priorities change.
Of
so
course.
it happens.
Yeah. And also, so people don't understand, the city priorities change. Right. Because, we're getting overwhelmed. We still continue having the fastest growing city in the whole country, if you want to say that. Our stable, housing market, even though it is overpriced and we do have higher, is still stable. So there's a lot of people that want to come here and they want to look for affordable housing. And I think that is really where we want to spend the most of the time, right, Rudy, is, what is the definition of affordable housing? Because if I hear affordable housing, I'm like, oh, it just means cheap homes. But it doesn't mean necessarily that definition, correct?
No. You're absolutely right. Affordable is kind of whatever you want it to be.
Right.
And as you notice, when you read some of these articles, some people are making it very positive. Like you just made it positive. We I think of affordable housing, I think of first-time buyers.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Typical 3-bedroom, 2-car, 2.5 bath, with a little bit of land, someplace to actually start and call your own and start your investment cycle, which is what most people do. Most people's largest investment in life is in their home, right? So a lot of people, would consider affordable being that. What happens though on the scare tactics side, the fear mongers will say, "Oh, it's low income."
Right, and those are two different things.
It's absolutely it's two different things. So when someone says, "Hey, we're bringing affordable housing," you should have a discussion with that, which is, what exactly are you proposing? Back 2018, we did not have any Class A apartments.
No.
Now you've been here, and since you've been here, what have you seen around the Beltway? Nothing but apartments. Nothing but apartments. Nothing but why? Because we knew we were going to end up having a housing shortage.
Correct.
And the higher the density, the more valuable that property got. Okay? So you saw the higher density properties, right? Typically the low income or the affordable housing.
Correct.
Pushing the property or the land value up because, again, with the density. So that also had an impact on where prices are today, right? Because the land got, for someone that was looking to build single family detached, it got more expensive to bid that property. But we didn't have any Class A property. Not like LA or California where we have a lot of people coming in, and then all of a sudden we had 6. And where are Class A properties? Class A is defined as being in one of the primo neighborhoods or communities.
Correct.
So again, the Beltway is considered to be, if you're on the Beltway, easy access, you consider to be Class A for the most part.
Correct.
Obviously, there's some exceptions to that. But like, for example, in the Summerlin area, up in the area where we are today, you saw a lot of apartment complexes going in right along that Beltway, the 215.
Yep.
And they're not cheap.
No, they're not.
Okay, they're not cheap. So to sit there and say that they were affordable, what was the big scare was you have people that said, "Oh my God, we're going to have Section 8 coming in."
Correct.
And Section 8 is a voucher program. They're not building the property. So that's just fear mongering. And remember, it's just because of lack of education.
Right.
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 And then the more people that say it, well, what ends up happening is that more people that say it with fewer people sitting there and actually knowing what the difference is, it catches, right? And that's usually the position that we're in, which is we're trying to go and dispel what the rumors are and actually define those for people.
Right.
And then you get looked at kind of like, well, you sound like you want to defend someone that's going to do the project here. It's like, no, but just because I understand doesn't mean that I'm an enemy here. I just understand.
Right.
So
and I'm sorry to interrupt you here,
fine.
but again, there's a misconception because we hear affordable housing, right?
Yeah.
But right now, anything under $500,000, wouldn't that be considered affordable housing? I mean, you're
absolutely.
getting a $350,000 condo or apartment. That will be considered, in my book, in my eyes, affordable housing. So it doesn't just mean that we're going to open up the floods and then all of a sudden everybody's just going to be able to move in. There still have to be a price point that they're going to have to define. And according to what you're telling me, the amount of money that the builder is investing in this, it's not going to be a lot more cheaper or affordable than what the current net market value is. Because, I mean, you gave me what the value of a single family resident here across the valley is. At this current market, it's probably what? Do you know like the average sales price of a home right now?
About $525.
So anything under $525, it will be considered affordable.
And most people wouldn't consider over $500,000 to be affordable.
Well, people have come
And
down
that's the thing. But if you've got people that are coming from the Midwest, you got people coming from other parts of the country, they're not thinking that that's considered affordable.
That is true.
So interest rates don't help. I mean, I'm not going to dump on interest rates, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult to get people approved.
Correct.
On the residential side.
Right.
Being that my background, I used to be the controller and finance person for a lot of the builders here in town. One of the things that I always thought was a way to make sure you weather any storm.
Correct.
Apartments are great because they add cash flow. That every month you get cash flow.
Right.
And doing affordable housing or doing first time buyers, catering to first time buyers.
Correct.
Was great for cash flow because you're building them quickly. You're building them well.
Right.
You're building a lot of them, so you can master the building process. So you don't have the issues.
Right.
And you keep the cash flow going.
Right.
So there is a business need to have those, but it's getting harder and harder. So a lot of these infill pieces, they have to conform to the surrounding area. So if you're dealing with, we'll take it to extremes with Badlands, right?
Yeah, right.
You've got Queensridge there, you've got the towers, and do we really think that we're going to go and have low income apartments going there as? No, because it just doesn't fit.
It doesn't make sense for the area.
No.
And again, I don't think that anybody that's sitting and developing that side of town will be like, they make sense. No, you know what? We want to keep up the lifestyle, right? Because it does become a lifestyle.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, we've talked about some other, last time we were here, we talked about Silverstone Ranch.
Yes.
The owner for that golf course just sent letters out to a handful of owners and then used this affordable housing and used these two projects, Desert Pines and Royal Links, as a negative.
Right.
Which is, if you don't work with me, you may get low income housing like those projects.
Right.
Where you may get a mixed use with commercial here. That's drawing a very, very, very long line between one and the other, saying that they're the same.
Correct.
When they're clearly not.
No.
And again, it's fear mongering, right? So you have to realize that, there are motivations behind why people want to do what they do.
Of course, yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're active, make sure that you're involved, and make sure that you're in the know. Our city and county officials, they answer the phone.
Yeah.
If you ask a question, they generally will get back to you.
Yeah.
If they don't get back to you, they generally will hold public office hours where you can go ask your question. If you're not getting satisfaction, well then, first off, you probably got a problem.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're not being satisfied with the answers that you're getting, or you don't think that they're getting answers, then you may have an issue. But make sure that you are doing your homework. But
Right.
I see too many people wanting to complain on social media. Social media is great, but it's where you get a lot of whiners and complainers.
Correct.
And a lot of well, I Googled it, therefore it must be true.
Right.
But sometimes you just need to go and make a phone call, send an email, and it's as easy as that. I mean, I hate to tell you what my tricks are,
Right.
but I use the phone and I use my email
wow.
a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And it's like, well, how'd you get that info? And it's like, well, here's the email. I have it in writing.
Right.
So, I mean, what are we going to do, right?
Yeah, and that's really important for people to really, like you said, get involved and find out what's happening.
Yeah.
If you have any questions of what's really happening in certain areas. I mean, if I'm a long person that been living in the East Side for a long time, and I am not opposed to change, because we are going to go ahead and get, like you said, that friction from those people that I've been living here for 20 years. We don't need that kind of project. But they really don't understand what that's going to mean for their area. I mean, having mixed use, a lot of people say it's not a good thing. A lot of people say it's a great thing because, you're utilizing one parcel to benefit for, two different scenarios, right? You have commercial in the bottom where you could have shops, you could have, restaurants. I mean, look at what's happening in downtown right now. Downtown is probably one of the biggest culinary scenes in town. We have a whole bunch of small little restaurants which are phenomenal, and it's a vibe. It's a thing. It's somewhere where people want to be in right now. We're looking at the Southwest. I mean, here we are in the Southwest, and when you're driving up here, you see all kinds of construction. I mean, the Southwest corridor right here, Rainbow, past the 215, going towards Wigwam and all of those, Warren Springs, has become the second Chinatown because all of those, infusion restaurants are sitting over here. So the area does get developed in a modern way, which I think a lot of the people that live on the East Side will probably benefit from it. But if we don't understand what's happening, then we're going to get scared and we're going to go ahead and start, creating issues and not being open to listen to what the benefits of that type of project will be, right?
Yeah. So you've got it's interesting. So you buy a home in a golf course community, right? I think everybody would expect that one way or the other, they're paying some type of premium, regardless if they have a view lot or not, because they're in a community.
Correct.
Like that. And then you have developers that will come in and say, well, you don't live on the course. We're going to close it. Regardless of what the use is.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We're going to close that. We're going to close the clubhouse. We're going to develop house. But don't worry, you won't be affected. Therefore, you're an unaffected homeowner.
Correct.
Property owner. And I go, well, wait a minute. If you bought with the intentions of being in a golf course community and you believe that there's a premium, regardless of where you live or where you own within that community. Now, you may have more of a premium if you have more of a view or more added benefit, right?
Correct.
But everybody should have at least the benefit of being, having a premium of being in a golf course community. To sit there and say, well, only a handful are affected, just shows that developers don't get it.
Yeah.
And everybody's affected.
Right.
And to sit there and say you're going to go and add amenities and you're unaffected, Rudy, you're unaffected, okay, because we're not going to develop behind you, or you're not a view lot, while simultaneously saying we're going to put all these amenities in. Well, who do you think is going to pay for those?
Right.
Well, so here's the thing: to sit there and say, "Oh, you're unaffected," but then simultaneously send me a bill to pay for the maintenance of whatever you're going to go and put in. Well, wait a minute. You just told me that I'm unaffected, but somehow the same property I'm going to get some future benefit from.
Exactly.
Well, what happened to the benefit that I was having a golf course behind me?
Correct.
And I think that's where you're going to have a lot of opposition with people because they just don't get it.
Right.
Now, some of these other communities that you have, like the ones that we're talking about, they don't have homes necessarily in the center. Right. They don't have them. It's not intertwined. It's a block of property.
Correct.
So you don't really have those issues like you do at Legacy. You don't have it at Badlands. You have at Silverstone. So you shouldn't have those type of oppositions.
Right.
You don't have restrictive covenants that prevent it. you may have environmentalists that are concerned about, the environmental impact and the water.
Correct.
Which we should discuss the water issue, which is at the heart of this. But like I said, it's when you have a community that is intertwined with a course, sitting here saying, well, if I just let everything go au natural, don't worry, you're not affected. It's like, well, if you bought based on in the first picture you showed to your family and friends was, this is what my backyard looks like, right. And now all of a sudden it's all burnt grass and dead trees.
Right.
I can imagine, you have a real big disconnect between the developer of that infill piece and the existing community. So you got to do a better job of, you can't just step over people.
Right. And
in communities like that, you have to have a little bit more finesse. Right. And it's really not that difficult.
No, but you got to remember, these are builders. They're looking at what, how much profit they're going to make at the end of the day, and it's a non-emotional transaction. It's just a transaction to a lot of them, right? Which unfortunately or fortunately, it's just part of what happens at that level of real estate and stuff like that.
Well, here's something. So, like I said earlier, my background, I used to be the finance guy for a lot of the builders here in town. And I was having this conversation with somebody over the weekend, which was, when we see this the regression, when we see these golf courses closing, was there really a need for some of these golf courses back then? And so I know just from working from some of these large builders that sometimes the mentality is this is a marketing feature.
Correct.
Right? There was no intentions necessarily to operate the property. It was third party. But just like, hey, we'll pay off your SIDs. It was a marketing thing.
Right.
So, that was the point of view from this individual, which was maybe in the 90s and the early 2000s when some of these golf courses were created. And it's not just local, just, in general.
Right.
Did they really have the need, or was it more of a selling feature?
Correct.
And because, maybe that's what we're seeing in market retraction when it comes to the number of rounds played. And we've seen a little bit more come up since COVID in general nationwide. But the question here was, were we oversaturated already?
Right.
Now here in Vegas, our big issue is water.
Correct.
So, the issue here is SB 356. You and I, we've talked briefly about this.
Yeah.
So, the water district got passed into law several years back, SB 356. And so this year you see a lot of homeowner associations changing their entries, right? Correct. They're ripping out all their grass. So they're required to go and rip out all that grass in the entries, take away from sidewalks so you don't have overspray in the streets, and anything that's considered non-functional.
Correct.
Now, water district is pretty, I would say they're pretty relaxed. If you can demonstrate that there's a use, they'll let you keep it to some degree.
Right.
They may make you make some modifications. You're not entitled to get the rebate that's advertised. That's not part of the statute. That's voluntary. So that can be pulled off the table at any time from the water district.
Okay.
But SB 356 had restrictions on homeowner associations and commercial grass use, if non-functional turf. It had a swamp coolers. Can't use swamp coolers anymore. So if you're looking to build, you need to refrigerate that industrial warehouse space.
Right.
As well. And then, the most important for golf course communities is that anything that uses Colorado River water can't be used on a golf course, period, the end.
Right.
And that was November 2nd of 2022 went into effect.
Okay.
And so what's happened is that a lot of the golf courses have already cut their water use voluntarily prior to a lot of this.
Right.
But the water district is intending, from what I've heard, especially from golf course operators,
correct,
which is their intentions are to make the restrictions even tighter for them, which makes it even tougher for golf courses, which is really what the issue here is, is where's your water source? You get a lot of people that sit there and say, well, we'll just get water rights. And it's like, well, it's not that easy.
Good luck with that.
And, just because you may buy a couple 100 acre feet a year doesn't mean that if you put the well in that you're going to have the water.
Right.
Remember, we're in a drought. So like where do you think a lot of this water goes that's in the water table? A lot of it will still go down towards the lake as well.
Correct.
But just because you have all those acre feet doesn't mean that you're going to get it. So there's a lot of challenges to golf courses here in the valley because of our current drought situation.
Is that the reason why a lot of the new developers are staying away from putting golf courses in, or, you know, because, I mean, the last golf course that I saw being developed, it's the Summit Club, right?
Correct.
Up there in Summerlin. That's the very last golf course community.
Yep.
And we're talking about, you know, the cheapest lot in there is $2 million. Or probably more.
That's when they started.
That's when they started, right? So, you know, they don't put in that anymore, but that's a private, you know, golf course, right? They have to deal with the water. They have to, but at one point they might have to, you know, cross this bridge with the water scenario, just because, you know, there are a lot of restrictions with with places that don't really deserve the water. They're trying to turn that off, right?
Yeah, so the Summit is the last, you're correct, that's the last one to be built. There's a moratorium on golf courses. So you're not going to see new golf courses.
No.
Unless you have a way of getting water other than the Colorado River source. So I believe the Summit has a couple 100 acre feet of water. And they will have a lot of desert around. So it's not going to be grass, you know,
100%, yeah.
But they've gone out there and they said, we're going to preserve this and we're going to make sure we have our water rights so we're not dependent upon. Now, again, I don't think that they have anything that's reclaimed, but that's the other source, which is reclaiming it.
Right.
Reclaiming is a problem because if you have nothing to reclaim, we're in a drought.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Right.
So that's a problem. The other thing with reclaimed water is that it has to be chemically treated.
Correct. And
it usually smells.
Yeah.
And so being around homes is probably not a good idea if you're putting off, you know, noxious odor.
Yeah.
So, and we've all been around areas that they're treating water. It's noticeable. It's not like a chlorine smell. It's it's noticeable.
It's a sewer smell.
it's not as bad, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if reclaimed is really the way to go when you don't have rain to begin with.
Right.
And you're not reclaiming from whatever you drop on the grass.
Right.
So, you know, that's the reason why the water district puts in all of these restrictions because they can't reclaim anything, any of that water, like they do through your sewer and septic. That's why they want you off of septic tanks,
Right.
and they want you on city sewer because they can reclaim. The statistic here is that we get here in Southern Nevada, we get to use 50% of the water, right? Us, Arizona, California, but our allotment is only a total of 4%.
Correct.
Of that 50%. And we use 6%. So we actually draw more water than what we're allotted. But what we do is we reclaim 3%. So we're actually a point below where we're supposed to be at, based upon just growth and just housing growth.
Right.
And we talked about it earlier. You know, do we have enough affordable? We have enough housing in general,
Right.
For the need. The answer is no. Well, you know, what's more important, being able to house people or be able to play golf?
Right.
So that's where the city and the county and the water district coming in, which is you can't control the population,
Right.
but we can control unreclaimed water on golf.
That makes
And so that's why they're doing that. You know, you may see restrictions with, you know, toilet sizes or whatever else, and they can monitor your house. I mean, have you had a leak at your house or a suspected leak? Because they are super fast now compared to 10 years ago with those electronic meters. They will tell you with a phone. They will find you. Okay. They are very, very quick.
Well, just the fact that, you know, they give us a, you know, watering schedule for the winter and for the summer and for the spring, right? And any, like you said, runoff water. I've seen the trucks driving around and saying, "Oh, look, this house," and then putting fines, and those fines are not cheap. You know, I've seen them from $130 to $450 if you're a first, or second, or third offender. I mean, it really makes a big difference because they're watching the misusage of the water, because they all know we all need water. We all need water. We all have that necessary, the very basic necessary need of the water. But if you're mistreating it, fine. They will punish you for that. That's why this whole initiative was, turn your your front lawn or your back lawn into desert landscaping, and we'll offer you some kind of compensation. Now with this, turfs, they're coming in and everything, everybody's thinking that's the best solution, but it's actually making your home a lot hotter if you really think about it. So, there's things that they're looking at, but like you said, do we need more housing or do we need more golf courses? And that's when they said no more golf courses, right?
So back to the heat component, because I get into this argument with people all the time.
Yeah.
You go, oh my God, it's so hot, the turf on dogs' feet. And it's like, okay, so why is that area hot?
Right.
Well, it's got direct sun. Well, why does it have direct sun? Well, when I had grass there,
I had a tree.
I needed direct sun because I have grass.
Yes, I see.
So the water district's doing, I think, $100, $150 a tree rebate.
Correct.
To add more trees.
Yeah.
So the answer here is, well, you don't need to have it full sun. You could put it in the shade, put a shade tree in.
Right.
And they'll pay you, or they'll reimburse you for a portion of that cost per tree. Now, I don't know if there's a limited number of trees, what have you, but I see homeowner associations, a lot of them. I've been on about 2 or 3 dozen boards over my years that they sit there and go, we're going to fight the water district with these restrictions because, our poor little doggies' feet. Now, I got 2 little black Shih Tzus that are on full sun grass, no problem.
Right.
Okay. And I always laugh because it's like, oh, so it's 115 degrees out. You walk the dog down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
On the hot sidewalk, no booties, no nothing. And then you go onto the grass and you're going to complain about the grass being too hot. Like,
please. Yes. I see your point.
But the thing here is that if you have the ability to put trees in, now you can change the way that you actually use that piece of property. And this is what I was talking about earlier, which is uses change, right?
Right.
So in your own backyard, you put in that faux grass. Oh, it's too hot. Great. But now you don't need the sun there.
Put some trees.
Maybe put a shade structure in. Do something.
Yeah.
You can redesign it, redevelop it yourself. And, as owners of a property, especially residential, we understand that every, decade or so, you need to renovate.
Yes.
Well, you need to change. You got to get with the times, right? One time we were putting carpet in bathrooms.
Right. I remember those properties.
Talk about dating yourself. If you see a house with pink carpet in the bathroom, that was the cat's meow one time.
Yeah. And
you do that now, it's like,
and the green tile in the counters, right? I mean, but you're right. That's what the period was requesting.
Yep. So, like I said, you have to realize that it's the scale, right? You and I, if we're going to go do a bathroom, okay, or do a house, or someone coming in or the city coming in and say, hey, we have a plan for this entire project, project. It's all based on the same mentality, which is you're keeping up, right? You're keeping up with the needs.
Right.
When I was buying houses, when I was in the market about 20 years ago, it was, we need to have the big thing was to make sure that your master bathroom had a separate shower and tub.
Correct. Who uses tub now?
Well, we had kids, now, but, we bathe them. Okay, fine. Now the functional use of a bathtub, a Roman tub in the master bathroom is not necessarily there. And there's the thought is that there's more equity in having one on the first floor than having one on the second floor if you have a 2-story.
Right.
So as long as you have one, if that's functionally obsolete is what they would refer to it as.
Right.
Well, have you improved it? So some people I've seen people put saunas in.
Right.
It definitely got used. It's definitely not obsolete. They used it more than the bathtub.
Correct.
And that's what people are looking for, which is, you need to be keeping up with the Joneses. Well, the same thing happens with these infill pieces, too.
Right. And you know what? That is a great point. And I'm going off the cuff here, so forgive me, Rudy. But I know I have you here, and I want to know your opinion on solar panels.
What do you want to know?
I know that at least for my title company, we've had a lot of deals go south.
Yep.
Because sellers or listing agents didn't really read the contract and didn't understood how to transfer that solar panel rights, if it's leased, if it's owned, all of that stuff. And I know that you teach a lot of courses in LDR, and you talk to hundreds of, maybe not thousands of agents through the year. And I'm pretty sure you've had a couple of arguments, different point of view about solar panels. What, in your expertise, what have you seen? Is it a benefit? Is it not a benefit? Has it caused more problems than what people really need to get into?
Well, I always kind of, when someone sits there, and this goes back to the grass company.
Yeah.
Oh man, no maintenance.
Yes.
No. Low maintenance.
Right.
There's
always something.
There's something you got to do. You still got to clean it, especially if you have pet, right?
Yep.
And solar panels, a lot of people are like, oh, it's 100% covered. I don't have to worry about it. And it's like, well, it's not that easy. Like, if really it's that easy. And usually the problem that you have is that the person who gets solar, they know about the technical aspects of it.
Yes.
But the real estate component portion, they don't.
Right.
So they may tell you down to the kilowatt hour how efficient the system is and this, that. That's great.
Right.
As an agent, okay, I'll disclose that.
Right.
But understanding, to your point, you have problems, right? So there was a case the beginning of the year that went to commission. It's public info.
Yeah.
Where the agent, was listing agent, listed the house for sale, put in the listing that there was solar, but never did anything to transfer the solar part of the sale.
Oh.
Contacted the buyer after close for the usual things to clean up after sale. There's nothing that you clean up after sale. That's
right.
And the buyer said, I'm not buying it. Too bad.
Oh, wow.
And the agent went to commission and ended up having to buy the solar for them.
Wow.
Plus fines, fees,
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
But it's scary because I believe what happened here was that they assumed that everybody knew how this works.
Right.
And it's like, and just because you see it doesn't mean that everyone's going to agree.
Right.
So, agents have to be very careful. Solar is, I see the need for it.
Yeah.
I don't think the technology necessarily is there. I have solar for my pool.
Right.
Works great. I don't have solar for the home.
Right.
My argument is that a lot of the homes, if they're not already if they're not running as efficient as they can, the question here is, should you be looking to upgrade? If you have a 20-year-old home and you're looking to go do this, and you have AC units that are 20 years old, would you, and 10,
Windows? 12,
14 SEER, okay, you can't get them replaced and the coolant is more expensive because you can't. They outlawed the refrigerant.
Yes.
You may be better off improving your HVAC system than putting the solar on the roof.
Correct.
Now I know that personally myself. From this summer, I had one of my 2 units go. I had a 14 SEER unit. I put a 20 SEER unit in, and my power bill is down about 40%. Now that doesn't make any sense because I have a pool.
Right.
Okay. The only reason why that makes sense is because I was overamping and I was drawing more power than I should have been drawing on that one unit that was bad.
Right.
That's why I have such a dramatic drop in my power bill.
Correct.
But a lot of people put these on
and don't change.
and they're not running necessarily an efficient house.
Right. And I think that is a great.
So when you look at these things, make sure that you're running everything. If you're looking to go and be net zero or be an energy producer, well, you also have to realize that if you're in an older home or you're in a home that's not running the most efficient equipment, and a lot of builders don't put the most efficient equipment. A lot of them will buy that equipment a year or two in advance, warehouse it, so it's you're getting the leftover stuff. May not be the best technology or the highest technology that's out there. The point here is that just because it's new doesn't mean it's great.
Right.
So just be careful when you're investigating. Well, what systems do I already have in my house that are drawing power? And is there improvements that I can make? Because remember, it's not just about how much you produce; it's about how much you draw off as well.
Right.
So you got to look at that seesaw. And I don't think that a lot of people look at what's currently in the home because they don't want to put a new AC unit in.
No.
They'd rather put the solar on the roof, save a couple $100 in their power bill, and that's the thought process.
Right.
Where The other issue that you have with solar is roofs. Mm-hmm. People don't realize that, just because they say that they warranty the roof, that's an overgeneralization. They warranty the penetrations.
Right. Not the whole roof.
Not the whole roof. Right. And then the other thing that you have an issue with is that where they walk, people will walk around, those are natural areas that will get broken. Mm-hmm. So, I always tell people, you better make sure you get a roofing contract. If there's solar, you better get it. And I get into a lot of arguments with sellers and sellers agents that how many of these have you done, Rudy? And the answer is not a lot, because they usually blow up because people dig in,
right? And
then they go, it's not worth it,
right? And
so they just walk away. So that's my experience. I'm not saying that it's everybody's,
no.
But there's a lot of hidden. How do I say it's hidden when it's the roof is right there?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that need to be done due diligence wise for both buyers agents, sellers agents, buyers and sellers.
Correct.
And it's in a case in point, a lot of the people that have solar, okay, you own it, okay. Oh, I lease it, okay. Well, there's something called a PPA, right? And that's basically a commodity contract.
Correct.
So a lot of these people don't even have the own a unit. They're just buying power on a schedule.
Yeah.
And those are generally a problem because you don't have a lot of say over it because it's not your system. They're basically renting your roof.
Right. They're paying you a little bit for your roof.
But they refer to them as leases.
Right.
And they're not really leases. They're really a commodity contract.
Right.
So you got to really take a look at what it is. A lot of appraisers don't give value unless it's a system that's flat out owned.
Right. And those are very, very hard to find because, like I said, we in the title company, I have not seen maybe but one or two transactions that it's 100% owned and there is a transfer of ownership from the solar panels from the seller to the buyer. 98% of the other transactions, it's a lease or I thought I owned it.
Well, if you're looking for one, I've got one up in Red Rock currently listed.
Okay.
Fully owned system with battery pack.
Right.
Ready to go.
Okay.
And we're priced to sell.
Right.
But yes, you're right. Just finding them that they're owned. Okay, so what's the definition of owned?
Yes.
See, that's the other issue that we have here in the Valley is a lot of the definitions between listings and between our contracts, the lingo is a little off.
Yes.
So knowing that, my clients find value. I would think that my clients find value because I'm able to point out, I do a disclosure going, this is how agents screw it up.
Yes.
It's not their fault.
No.
Because they're answering truthfully, right? Is it owned? Yeah. Okay. Well, is it financed? Like they may not ask that question on that form. And so, why is it that we're playing this lingo issue? And the answer is different people write different forms, write different disclosures, and they don't all talk.
Right. Exactly.
So that's why you hire a professional like me or another realtor.
Right.
Because we should know how to walk through those things. So I've covered these in contract changes and contract forms classes.
Right.
When we do these things, and people are completely like, well, Rudy, you're just reading way into the details. And the answer is, isn't that what we get paid for?
And you know what? You are 100% correct because there's a saying out there that says the devil is in the details, right? If you don't,
devil's always been in the details.
But if you don't pay attention to the details, it's going to come around and not only bite you, but it's going to also bite your party, which could be either your seller or your buyer, and you're going to have a very tough scenario ahead of you. And again, you know what? It's really important to partner up or to hire the professional that's really going to be looking through those details because that could make a big difference at the end of the transaction, right?
Yes. So realtors are not unlike other professions, right? I was a corporate guy before I was a reseller. I'm commissioned. A lot, especially when you're a young professional, you come out and you're identified as what you do, right? Rudy Romano, the accountant.
Yes.
Rudy Romano, the ball player. Right? And you go out, you're young, you're identified by where you go to school, what you do for work, what you drive. Very basic stuff, right?
Yes.
I equate it back to the 30-second bar, conversation that you have with people. How do they introduce you, right? Okay. And, there's a point in, I think, every real estate agent's, especially real estate agent's career where they're scared, right? Hey, I don't want to blow up a deal. I hear that a lot from young agents or inexperienced agents. I hate saying weak, but even weak agents. But and I know that I had that when I first got in the market, which is, I don't want to blow this up.
Of course.
But then my job is to think of you, not to think about me. The other thing is that so every agent has to get past that point.
Yes.
I like sleeping.
Yes.
And I like sleeping well. I've got 2 young kids.
I love that.
A wife, 2 dogs.
Yeah.
I've got things I want to do.
Yeah,
I don't want to
play sports.
I don't. Yeah, and I don't want to look over my shoulder.
Right.
So what happens here is that sometimes you tell me it's not important to you. Okay. But you know what? I'm going to make you sign a disclosure.
Just
okay, because and I'll give you an example. And this one comes up in duty level of care. Okay, you're working with 2 buyers. One of them is a single family, young kids, and the other one's an investor buying residential property.
Right.
For the one with the family, you're looking for sex offenders, right? Hey, I want to know what's going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But you don't do that for the investor. Why?
Right.
Well, if they weren't buying, wouldn't they be renting there?
Yes.
So even though that person said that they don't care,
that's right.
eventually they may be looking to dispose of the asset, right?
Correct.
And it would be something that maybe could be a reason why they want to dispose of the asset.
Right.
So it may blow up the deal, and they didn't ask for it. But if something happened, will they be calling your broker?
Right.
Will you be getting called into the division? Because it's basic level of care.
Correct.
So, you have to, we talk about systems and having a protocol in place. You treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
Right? So, and unfortunately, the more experience you have, the more stuff that you know how to disclose. So, unfortunately, you have to balance that with your client, which is how do I go and I put that together so they're not signing 100 pages.
Right.
Right? Because now all of a sudden, you know, I both know people don't have the attention span.
No.
So you have to go and know how to break it down too. But new agents, there's always that level where they're afraid, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's not worth the check.
Right.
It's not worth the check, and that's why you hired me. And I always say the power of the word no.
Yeah.
Until you know what your value is, and you know how to use that word no. Watch how fast someone comes back to you as an agent when you say no, and they want to know, why is it that everybody else said okay, and you're telling me absolutely no? They will. Okay, it's kind of like dating, right?
Yes.
It's like right where it's like well, now that you said no, I'm going to try twice as hard, right? And so, but yeah, you need to, as a new agent, you need to understand, and solar is a problem, just because of the disclosure portion is it's not very straightforward.
Right. Well, Rudy, you know what? It is our time is gone, and I know you have showings today in this side of town, so we're going to go ahead and call it a that. I really appreciate it. I love talking with you. I think I'm going to offer you another spot here eventually soon, so we could talk about the buyer's brokers agreement, because I know you have your point of view of that, and a lot of agents right now are still confused about it, which to me doesn't make any sense.
I get asked, I get asked by, as I bring it up, I go, and they go, well, Rudy, why are you asking that? I go, well, why not? Don't we have an answer? Like, that's the problem, which is if you don't have an answer. But yeah, just to give a little a teaser about the buyer broker agreement, which is all these issues are disclosure issues.
Right.
Okay. So for experienced agents, we're not changing our business because we already disclose
everything.
Okay. I just got done telling you that I have to find a way to go and cut 100 pages down to 10. Right. So I don't have a problem disclosing. And experienced agents, comfortable agents, are not going to see a problem. The problem that you're going to see is the weak agents. The ones that are just not going to have to be able to figure it, they'll just leave. And then we've already seen it. But we have a great influx of brand new agents, and they don't know any different.
Right.
So it's just like any other big change, like back in 2015 when we changed to the lender disclosure?
Yes.
Oh my God, the sky is falling.
Yes.
The sky is... And did it really cause that much of an issue?
No.
No. So it just needed to go and maneuver and pivot. And just like we were talking about with infill development, you got to change with the times.
Yep.
change with the times.
Perfect. Well, Rudy, you know what? I really appreciate your time. Again, if you want to give me your name, your number, how people could get a hold of you.
Sure.
And then, we'll set another time for you to come and sit down with us and share your knowledge, man. Go ahead, Rudy.
So Rudy Romano, Signature Real Estate Group, phone number 702-202-9489. My email is my name, rudy@rudyromano.com. I do residential, commercial, and land. And give me a call.
Perfect. Well, my name is JC Castillo. I am with Lawyers Title. Remember, you could go ahead and choose your title company. So give me a call outside of the air at 702-416-4302, 702-416-4302. We'll be on air tomorrow with another guest. I really appreciate it. If you like the show, give us a thumbs like. If you don't like it, let us know why, and we'll definitely adjust and change. So have a wonderful day, and we'll see each other tomorrow.